All right. If you caught my last episode, you know that I was hosting a free workshop on planning and goal setting with the 5 elements, specifically the earth element, as that is the season we are in now, right? This is the time of year where summer's yang energy has peaked, and we are now trending towards a new yin energy, right? Which is going inward. Things are cooling down. We're softening into a time of retreat as we approach a cooler season, the fall and the winter. But before we do that, there's actually a transitional season that is represented by earth element. And so that was the basis of the seasonal planning workshop that I just hosted last week, because we tend to jump from one thing to the next, one season to the next, right? We often fail to recognize this season of rest and balance before pushing ahead into the new schedule, into our new routines, right? Fall's energy. I talked about the mind-body home connection and ways you can use the earth element at home through your decorating in a way that helps set you up for this next season. Because fall is a really busy time for most people, right? We're settling into new schedules. There's evening activities. There's a focus on back to school, back to work. There's a sense of wanting to get things accomplished that we had set out at the beginning of the year, now that we just have 4 months left. So if you would like access to the workshop, I am offering the recording for free for a very limited time. The link to request that is in today's show notes. Okay, so for today, I want to offer you a little more context around the earth element as a personality type. I don't think I've done this yet on the podcast. So how an element reveals itself in people. So just like just like knowing your zodiac sign, your Enneagram number, your human design profile, you also have a dominant element archetype. We are made up of all of the elements, but we're typically dominated by just one or two of them. And you might be feeling a bit out of balance if you're not integrating enough of your signature element, we'll call it. And also, you might feel out of balance if you're overwhelmed by your element. You have too much going on with your element, right? Or you don't have enough. You're not incorporating enough of your element into your day, your routines, your life. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And what I love about working with the elements is that, and what makes them different from other systems that I just mentioned, is that they work together in a cycle, right? So you can call on the help of the other elements to encourage, more of your personal element, or you can use a different element to sort of simmer things down a bit, right? If it's an overactive situation. So again, the element's main purpose is to find balance, yin and yang energy, right? So you might be living in a way that's not very supportive of your primary element. And so you might be running on fumes, overwhelmed, scatterbrained, fatigued. You might have even some issues in the body, right? The elements are in play with Chinese medicine. So there might be some things even going on with the body that feel out of alignment. You might just not feel like yourself, right? So let's talk exclusively about earth element people, and I'm going to call it earth people. Okay. So here's some characteristics, some personality traits of earth element. So you might be an earth element if you're all about cozy and comfortable. You dress this way. Your interiors are this way. It's where everybody wants to be, right? There's a lingering that kind of goes on in an earth element home. They like warm, they like comfortable, cozy. You personally want to be comfortable, so you dress more comfortably, but you also want to ensure that other people are comfortable. It's this Mother Earth or just mothering energy with an earth element. So when you think of the archetype of a mother, She's comforting, she's nurturing, she's supportive, right? Even if an earth element never bore children, they still pour their love into their extended family and their friends, and they very often have pets. They are animal people. They love caring for pets too. Earths are all about community and they actually help build the foundations for whatever the community or their neighborhood or their environment needs. So they make really great volunteers. They make really good community organizers. And remember, Earth is the time between seasons. And so there's like this transitional phase. So Earth people, they understand this, right? And they tend to be a peacemaker, right? They can often see both sides to a story, just like a mom can appreciate the frustrations and the bickering between siblings. Earth doesn't really like conflict, and people come to them for guidance and support. And Earth people, they want to ensure that everyone is heard, everyone is accepted, everyone feels comfortable, they're loved, they're showed love, right? They're dependable, they're devoted to everything that they do, especially to people and passions that they care about. They love making gifts, okay, for people especially. Anything homemade is an earth elements jam, okay? They are drawn to people in need, as you can probably start to see. So you'll find earth people in professions such as teaching, nursing, counseling, caregiving, anywhere they can be of service to others. However, because of this, earth people in business may actually have a hard time charging for services because they tend to overgive, right? They love being charitable with their time, with their energy, with things, okay? So because earth element is that perfect balance, again, we're experiencing that now between seasons, that feeling of balance, it feels really good to stay there, right? It's comfortable. Therefore, earth people tend to avoid change, and that can kind of be their detriment because change, as we know, is inevitable. But an earth person who's in balance, they recognize this and they lean into going with the flow when it's time. However, if that flow gets too forceful, or it stagnates for a little too long, a healthy, balanced earth knows how to find stable ground again, right? And then they move forward from there. So I love that element of the earth person because that's really the basis of the workshop I just hosted, is just finding stable ground before charging ahead. Accepting change is a really big challenge for earth people, but there are other ways an earth might find themselves out of balance. And so overgiving, okay, not tending to their needs first, right? It's very typical for a mother to do this. We talk about that all the time. As women, as caretakers of mothers, we have to put on our oxygen masks first. They can be overbearing, right? Mothers can become overprotective. And again, we're not speaking just to mothers. We're speaking to sort of the stereotypical mother. It's more of the energy of mom. So they can become overprotective. They can become nagging and sometimes even a little bit clingy, right? And this can lead to being needed to the point of enabling codependency in others. Clutter is a really common issue with earth elements. I see this a lot because they have this appreciation of the family and their friends, right? It's hard for them to let go of things. They often inherit all the passed down family heirlooms and family furniture, and this was grandma's and this was Aunt Susie's, right? And they like to keep gifts that were purchased for them that are gifted to them. And sometimes they maybe don't like it. They don't have any need for it, but they will keep it out of obligation because they will not hurt the other person's feelings by letting it go or regifting it or donating it or whatever. So clutter tends to show up a lot in an earth home. Let's talk about emotions. So emotionally speaking, Earth people are worriers, okay? I mean, how many mothers do you know that worry about their kids, right? And I mean, all mothers do to a degree, but Earth element moms take it to kind of another level. They worry about the well-being of their children, their family, their friends. Even just making a decision for themselves is really challenging because they worry about making the wrong one, right? When they worry to the point of becoming overprotective, right, they create this vicious cycle for themselves. They overprotect, they enable codependency, and then they become resentful because now they haven't really let the other person think for themselves, and the other person becomes too needy. So they get into this really vicious cycle when it comes to Earth being out of balance and when they're overprotective and overbearing. Earths have a really hard time letting people make their own decision. That's where the worry comes in. Again, it's almost like another cycle where they're making decisions for other people. And then, then they worry, did they make the right decision? And then if it's not, then they feel this like guilt and shame. So it's good for Earths to practice grounding and boundary setting, right? Setting firm boundaries between themselves and the people that they care about. They cannot be responsible for everyone's feelings or the amount of happiness they create for themselves in their life. Earths need to watch that their worry doesn't turn into guilt. Kind of guilt, I was just saying about making decisions for other people, but guilty for not feeling like they didn't do enough for someone else. You'll hear an Earth without healthy boundaries often over-apologizing, right? They apologize for everything, even when they did nothing wrong, right? That person who's just constantly saying they're sorry. So since I'm touching on emotions here, it's also worth mentioning how an Earth's imbalance manifests in the body, okay? So let's start with the stomach. Earth dominant types, they love food, okay? Especially comfort food and sweet things. There's that word again, comfort. Earths like to cook for others, share food with others. They find pleasure in cooking with love or sharing food with people they love. Back to professions, you might find an Earth element as a chef, right? But because Earth element in Chinese medicine is governed by stomach and the spleen, Earths do need to be mindful of their eating habits. They may tend to overindulge, or they might eat more unhealthy processed foods, sweet foods, sugary foods. And so digestively speaking, an Earth doesn't watch what they eat at times, especially when they worry. Think about when you worry, it like hits you in the gut, right? You get that worrisome tummy. So if you're not watching what you eat, you may experience some digestive or stomach issues. The spleen helps filter blood and fight certain bacteria. And so it has been linked to a dysfunction in the gut flora. And all of that contributes to bloating, indigestion, other symptoms like fatigue, spontaneous sweating if your spleen is not functioning properly. So, and again, the purpose here is informational only. Please do not use this information to diagnose yourself. I'm only offering this to help you understand how an imbalance, an emotional imbalance, manifests in the body. And in this very specific context, we're talking about Earth element. So I'm going to be sharing a little bit more insight into all of these elements as we move into their respective season. And so if you found this information helpful or interesting, and you'd like to learn a little bit more about Earth element, how we can use it in the home through decorating, I'd love to share the recent workshop with you because I go a lot deeper into Earth element and how to really hone in and honor this transitional time of year, this season. The seasonal planning with the 5 elements workshop, like I said, will be available for just a short time. When we apply changes to our home through intentional decorating, right, we are supporting change towards balance and alignment in our bodies, in our minds, and when working in sync with this new awareness and understanding, we create change across our entire life. It becomes a completely new way of living. we start creating a home and a lifestyle that supports the one we actually want to be living, the one that's in alignment with our spirit. This is the foundation of mind, body, home. So if the information I just gave to you today sounds interesting and you want to learn how to decorate with the earth element, and you want to find ways to take more pause before jumping into something new, then you're going to love what I have to share in this workshop. To access the recording, you can find the link in today's show notes. It is available free for just a limited time. I hope you enjoyed today. And if you have any questions about your personal element, or you're curious how to apply it within your home, feel free to reach out. I'm always just an email away at jsd@jadescottdesign.com. Until next time, my friends, so much love and gratitude.